Hi everyone, I'm Doug from DigiPen in Redmond. In this video, we'll give the hero a little extra firepower with some exciting new power-ups. In a previous video, we examined Scratch Invaders and identified a problem with it. It lacks variety. We mentioned that we could address this problem by giving the player more abilities and gameplay options, and also by adding more kinds of enemies. In that video, we added a new tough enemy. This change improves the experience of playing Scratch Invaders, but it also makes the game quite a bit harder. Now, let's enhance the hero to balance that change. Let's talk about power-ups. In a video game, a power-up is a boost to the hero's abilities to make them stronger, faster, more resilient, or something like that. For example, the hero might drink a potion that protects them from damage. It's usually temporary, either because it wears off after a while, or because it has a limit to the number of times it can be used. For example, the hero might find an upgrade that allows their sword to shoot fire, but they can only use it 10 times. A power-up can be activated in many different ways. An enemy might drop an item when it is defeated that activates a power-up for the hero. Some games send power-ups into the game window together with the enemies they send at the hero. In some cases, a power-up might be activated automatically when the player does something in the game, like reaching a certain score, collecting enough of a certain item, defeating a certain kind of enemy, or going a certain length of time without getting hit. Power-ups can improve a game in a few ways. First, they're nice because they can add variety to the game by changing how it's played, helping the experience remain fresh. If the player is used to certain facts about how the hero is controlled, like how fast they move or how high they jump, then they'll be in for a surprise if a power-up changes some of those facts. They also make the player feel powerful. For example, the player might be dreading an upcoming battle with a particularly nasty foe. If they receive a power-up before the fight begins, then it will be easier, and the player might enjoy the experience of using their newfound strength to overcome their enemy. Finally, power-ups can be used to balance the difficulty of a game. For instance, a game might feature many difficult enemies that are too tough for most players to handle without help. Normally, this would be considered unfair, but if the player has access to power-ups, then they can handle tougher challenges. Let's enhance the hero of Scratch Invaders by adding a power-up to the game. Load what you've already done in that project, or visit the link in the description below, and then click the See Inside button. Let's give the hero a super shot attack with limited ammunition. It will work the same way as the regular attack, but it won't stop when it hits an enemy. We'll make it so that every time the player beats a tough enemy, the hero gets one super bullet. To begin, right-click the bullet sprite in the sprite pane and choose to duplicate it. Change the new bullet's name to Super Bullet. Normally, when duplicating an existing sprite to create a new one like this, we would change its costume to make it visually distinct from the original. In this case, we'll do something more interesting instead. We'll make the Super Bullet rapidly change its colors using the Change Effect block. Find the When I Start as a Clone block in the code area. If we put a Change Effect block in this forever loop, it will be executed again and again very quickly as long as the bullet is visible. Click the purple Looks category and find the Change Effect block. Attach it inside the mouth of the Forever block at the top, like this. It's already set to change the color effect, and the amount to change it by is just fine. Now, in order to make this new Super Bullet truly super, it should not be deleted when it touches an enemy. This means that it doesn't need an enemy check function. Drag the enemy check block out of the mouth of the forever block and drop it on the block palette to delete it. Now find the enemy check function in the code area. Drag its define block and drop it on the block palette to delete this function from the super bullet sprite. Currently, the super bullet is set to receive the same hero shot event as the basic bullet. We don't want this. We want it to use its own unique event. Find the When I Receive block in the code area. Click its event list and select New Message. Name the new event Super Shot. The super bullet should move at its own speed, not the speed of the basic bullet. Click the orange Variables category and then click the Make a Variable button. Name the new variable Super Bullet Speed. Find the Initialize function in the code area and find the Set block that defines the bullet speed variable. Select Super Bullet Speed from its variable list. The new bullets should move faster than the old ones, so type the number 20 in the Set block's value field. You can change this later if you like. Now find the Handle Movement function in the code area. Here is where we nudge the bullet along by its movement speed. Right-click the bullet speed reporter block and change it into a super bullet speed reporter block. Now we're done creating the super bullet itself, so it's time to make it appear in the game. Select the hero sprite in the sprite pane. We'll begin by creating a variable to keep track of how many super bullets the hero has left. In the block palette, click the Make a Variable button. Name the new variable Super Bullets. Find the Initialize function in the code area. Add a Set block to it and select Super Bullets from its list. As we did before with the score and HP variables, we'll keep the watcher for the Super Bullets variable visible in the game window. You should spend a little time modifying the HUD to add a text label for the Super Bullets variable, but for now, we'll just use the watcher as it is. Move it into a good position, perhaps just to the left of the hull text. Now find the shoot function. Currently, whenever it's called, it broadcasts the hero shot event. We want to change it so that, under certain conditions, it will broadcast super shot instead. If the hero has any super bullets available, then we should broadcast super shot. Else, we should broadcast hero shot as normal. We need an if-then-else block. Click the gold Control category. Find the if-then-else block and set it nearby. Then click the green Operators category and find the greater than block. Put it in the condition slot of the if-then-else block. Now click the orange Variables category. Find the Super Bullets reporter block and put it in the left value field in the greater than block. In the right value field, type the number 0. Drag the broadcast block out of the body of the shoot function and attach it and the start sound block inside the top mouth of the if-then-else block. Then right-click the broadcast block and choose to duplicate it. Attach the copy inside the bottom mouth. Now add the if-then-else block to the body of the shoot function. In the broadcast block in the top mouth, select Super Shot from the event list. We also need to reduce the number of super bullets by 1 each time we fire, so attach a change block inside the top mouth of the if-then-else block. Select Super Bullets from its variable list and type the number -1 in its value field. Next, we should give the super bullet its own sound effect, so click the Sounds tab at the top. You can add a new sound effect by clicking the Choose a Sound button and selecting one from the library, but it's also possible to start with the sound we're already using for shooting and modify it. In our case, it's the pew sound. Right-click the sound and choose to duplicate it. Change the new sound's name to Super Shot. The easiest way to make this new sound seem more super is to lower its pitch. Click the slower button 2 or 3 times. Remember, while we edit, if you make a mistake or change your mind about something you've done, you can click the undo button up here to undo your change, and you can click redo to put it back. If you're in a hurry, you can just reduce the pitch and move on, but if you put in some more effort with a combination of selecting regions with the mouse and using the buttons at the bottom, you can really make a cool, unique sound effect for your super shot. When you're done, click the Code tab at the top. Back in the Shoot function, find the Start Sound block in the top mouth of the If-Then-Else block and select Super Shot from its list. Next, we need the enemies to be able to detect when they're colliding with the super bullet, so select the Enemy sprite in the Sprite pane. Find the Bullet Check function. Right now, if it's touching the bullet sprite, then it calls the Hit by Bullet function. We need it to call that function if it's touching a bullet or a super bullet, so click the green Operators category. Find the OR block and set it nearby. Drag the touching block out of the condition slot of the if-then block and put it in the left slot of the OR block. Right-click the touching block and choose to duplicate it. Put the copy in the other slot and then select Super Bullet from its list. Finally, put the OR block in the condition slot of the if-then block. Now we're done with this enemy, so select the Tough Enemy sprite in the Sprite pane. Here, we need to do for the tough enemy what we just did for the basic enemy, and then after that we also need to make it so that the player gains 1 super bullet for each tough enemy they defeat. First, find the Bullet Check function in the code area. In the block palette, find the OR block and set it nearby. Drag the touching block out of the condition slot of the if-then block and put it in the left slot of the OR block. Right-click the touching block and choose to duplicate it. Put the copy in the other slot and then select Super Bullet from its list. Then put the OR block in the condition slot of the if-then block. Now find the Defeated function. This is called when the player has beaten a tough enemy. So it's the perfect place to put the code that increases the super bullets variable by 1. Click the orange Variables category and attach a change block above the if-then block like this. Select Super Bullets from its list. Now click the green flag and play the game. Whenever you defeat a tough enemy, you gain 1 super bullet. Use them wisely. This new power-up definitely makes the game more interesting, and it gives the hero a competitive edge in their fight against the enemies. What can you change to balance the difficulty of Scratch Invaders with this new ability? Well, to make it easier, you could increase the number of super bullets that the player receives for defeating a tough enemy. You could also reduce the speed of the super bullet. The longer it stays on the screen, the more hits it can land on the enemies. You could also make the super bullet larger, which would make it more likely to make contact. To make the game harder, you could make the super bullet smaller or make it faster. Or you could make it so that it can only damage the basic enemies and not the tough enemies, or the other way around. How might you go about adding more power-ups to Scratch Invaders? Well, this one is activated by defeating the enemy we recently added. If you add more enemy types to the game, you could add more power-ups in the same way. Let's recap what we've learned in this video. First, we learned what a power-up is. A boost to the hero's abilities to make them stronger, faster, more resilient, and so on. Then we discussed how a player might activate a power-up in a game, by collecting an item, by reaching a certain score or defeating a certain enemy, and so on. Next, We described the ways that power-ups can improve a game, including adding variety by changing how it's played, letting the player feel more powerful, balancing the game's difficulty, and more. Finally, we added a power-up to Scratch Invaders that allows the hero to shoot bullets that aren't deleted when they hit enemies. In the next video, we'll show you how to focus your efforts in developing your games through the process of playtesting.